What's up, Facebook? This is Dan the Waterman. We'll be interviewing La Gringa, Janine, here in a couple minutes as soon as she gets on. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship and who she is, what she does. Let me go ahead and get some ads in here. When you get on here, if you wouldn't mind sharing and inviting, be greatly appreciated. Jeremy Rubin, the friendly flipper. Jason, what's going on, man? You have a baby yet? What's up, Matt? Don't forget the water drop, bro. Hey, look. You see it? You see the Lambo? I'm gonna have it soon. What's up, Chavez? Jason, you have a baby yet, man? Jason's wife is in the hospital right now, and they may have a baby tonight. That's some exciting news. Go ahead and get some ads going. If you're catching the replay, make sure you share this stream. I would greatly appreciate it. There she is, La Gringa. Let's get her on. We'll know soon. Hoping tonight's the night.
Good evening.
What's going on?
Nothing. I just shared out the video.
Awesome. Make sure you do some inviting too.
I'm doing that right now. Invite. I actually invited some people via text message prior. So,
Did you?
Yeah, I let some people know what was happening.
I like it.
Yeah.
We get some more people on here too. How's your day been?
Invite. I love when people invite me because sometimes the good videos don't show up on my feed, and then
Right.
I catch the video at the very end and I'm like, dang it, I wanted to be a part of that conversation. It's cool to watch play too, but it's fun to actually be live. I was thinking about that today, about why Facebook Live is going to be so much better than TV. Is imagine being able to watch your favorite TV show and comment with everybody else watching it at the same time. I was watching
Absolutely.
I was watching Grant and Elena today for 2 seconds. I need to go back and watch the replay because I was at work. But I was thinking, if you could take, in the past, all your favorite TV shows. I don't watch TV anymore, but in the past, you watch all your favorite TV shows and being able to comment with the rest of the audience, whatever your comments are. That's Facebook Live is revolutionary. That's so cool. Gracias.
Yeah, love it. Man, we got 18 people on already. La Gringa is popular.
Sí, La Gringa es muy popular.
I like it. So why don't you tell us about who you are? Talk about a little bit about what you do in business. Talk about what you do outside of business, and talk about your book.
Awesome, I will. So I think the question is really difficult. I've had people ask me recently, oh, what do you do? And it's man, a lot? I don't know how to answer that. And I hate answering the question, what do you do, with just where do you work? Because I think where I work is part of who I am, but it's not all of who I am. Hey, Whitney's going live with me later tonight at 9. So
Chris Wick, what's going on?
Pardon?
Go ahead.
So I work in advertising and marketing. So my main hustle, if you will, is to connect advertisers. So any local business in the South Florida area, to connect them with millions of people through radio, digital, social events. So basically we have an audience of over 2.5 million people, and we can segment it up and connect businesses with those people based on who they're looking to reach. So what I do is I connect businesses with potential consumers. That's kind of what my day-to-day job is. And then, like you mentioned, I also just wrote my first book. I say first because I plan on writing a few more. And very successful so far. I think I've sold, every day I'm selling a couple more. So I think I'm up to 75 copies right now. And
awesome.
There's no physical book yet. I'm still dealing with the printing. So it's been on pre-sale. I should get the printed book by next week. So the goal is to have 100 copies sold before the first one is even in my hands. So.
I must have missed that somewhere because I was expecting the book and I got a note from you. I'm like, hey, that works. I got glitter on my your note
Well,
and everything.
you got the first page or the first 2 pages of the book in the note, and it came included with a typo. So you now have
Right.
I forget who it was, wrote like, that's going to be a collector's item. And I was like, that's a good way to look at it. Because my sister was like, you just sent out the note with a giant typo. And I was like, whoops.
All right.
But
All right.
the book should be at your door within like 2 weeks. The Amazon shipping should have said like by July 3rd, which is still, we're on pace for by July 3rd. So
Awesome. I look forward to reading it.
Thank you for ordering a copy. That's awesome.
Absolutely. You want to talk a little bit about what it is?
Sure. So the book is part book, mostly journal, and it's based off of an activity that really has become part of my life in the last 6 months to the full capacity. But it's something that I've heard the 1%ers and people that I've studied over the past 6 to 10 years talking about, and that's the process of writing down your goals daily. And really something that hit me between listening to Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Danelle Delgado, and then Paul Santisi, like all of them combined together to really hit me into realizing that not only should you be writing down your goals, but you should be writing them every single morning to focus your day, and doing it in a sense where you're actually writing them in present tense as opposed to in future tense. So instead of writing like, I am going to become a multimillionaire, you write, I am a multimillionaire, even if it's not true yet. Grant Cardone talks about that a lot. So I started doing this morning activity where I wrote these I am statements, and I would write them every morning. And I noticed that my energy levels, my confidence level, my skill sets were all starting to rapidly increase. And the things that were on my vision board were starting to become a reality because I thought that they could be. Like I was literally reworking my brain by doing this activity every morning. It was just, it is still tremendously powerful. And I have a written journal, like a printed journal from Danelle Delgado that I use at night. And that's a gratitude journal. And I love that hers was printed, right? That it just wrote like, write 10 things you're thankful for, write 3 goals you have, right? What you learned today. And I loved that it was just formatted and I could go every day and use it and know that I was staying on pace. And I kept saying to myself, I really wish someone would make a journal like this for my morning activity. Like I really wish there was the same book, but for my morning. And then like it finally hit me one day, like no one's gonna make that book. Like I need to make the book. Like so I the first, there's an introduction, which you have a copy of now. Then there's 3 chapters that really teach the concept, that teach the full power and how to utilize the journal properly. For those of you guys who don't like to read, it's only 25 pages. So, and there's some pictures in there. So it's just a little bit of text and then mostly a journal. And then what was probably the most challenging part of writing the book, because I did it in 30 days, was the most challenging part was on the top of every single page of the journal, all 365 journal pages, there are original quotes. So I didn't want to use like Nelson Mandela and Walt Disney and all these people who are like, I have my favorite quotes. I love their quotes, but everyone's heard all of them already. So I decided to do 365 original quotes in English and Spanish. I got to give props to ETE. It was his suggestion that I do some in Spanish. And I was like, oh, that's smart. Considering estoy la gringa. So that was awesome. And then every 30 days, there's a page that has like a written activity on like pacing yourself, like your progress, asking certain like questions to help you deep dive and like refocus every 30 days. And then there's a special activity every 90 days. So it's a very interactive journal and very like prompted. So even for those of you guys who like hate journaling, or like when you sit down to journal, you're like, what do I write? Like Dear Diary? Like, I don't know what to do. Like this makes it super simple and just really like plug and play. And like, it's literally changed my life. So I actually like wrote the journal because I want a copy. And like, literally if I sold 0, like I would be excited to like order, I'm ordering like, I think like 500 to 1,000 copies to begin with. And then I'm going to get shipping I'm going to get somebody like to print it overseas so I can get it cheaper. But in the beginning, I'm going to do it that way. I would still order like 500 copies just to be like, I'm giving it as gifts. I'm giving it to everyone like ever, because it's literally changed my life. So I'm
It can
so
be your
excited.
business card. I think I read that somewhere. Someone's talking about books being the new business card. I think Bob Solis might have said that.
Oh, I love that. Bob Solis is the man. He's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Part of the powerhouse, right?
Yes, part of the powerhouse.
I like it.
Powerhouse
So
Fridays. Wow.
how did you get into advertising?
We got some people throwing up some angry faces. Chris Wick, are you throwing up some angry faces at me?
I think he is. He said that you cut me off when I mentioned his name.
Pardon?
He said you cut me off when I mentioned his name. So he's throwing up angry faces.
I didn't mean to cut you off when you mentioned his name. I freaking love Chris Wick. He's the man.
He's awesome. What's up, David Miner? David is killing it down here in Tampa. So,
yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, how far north? We're both in Florida. So how far north do you advertise?
Do I advertise? So I handle the South Florida market, which is Fort Lauderdale and Miami. But I can actually handle any advertiser that's based like in the state of Florida. I can handle them for the entire country. I try to focus just on businesses that are headquartered in the Broward County or Miami-Dade County areas, and then I can handle them for the whole country. But if there was like a special scenario where somebody needed something and they were based out of Tampa or Clearwater, I could, there's exceptions that I can make. But we do have like a Tampa office. So depending on what the scenario was, I might refer someone to the Tampa office instead. Just kind of depends on the scenario.
Okay. We'll definitely talk about that offline for sure.
But if you're over on that side, you should do Tough Mudder with us in October. Me, Jeremy, C Multiplies, my friend Thomas, and then a bunch of other people who aren't like active in this community. We're all doing Tough Mudder in October. So, and it's right between Orlando and Tampa. So there's no excuse. You should come with us.
All right. Send me the info. I'm in.
Okay.
I better get back. I better get back in shape.
We got
ET and the Friendly Flipper, and you guys are always at the gym. I better get my butt in gear.
I got to go to the gym right after this video, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be doing a video of you running on the treadmill.
How
did you get? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I love the treadmill videos.
That's awesome. So how did you get into advertising? How long have you been doing it?
I've been in advertising for almost 3 years now. I was in sales and marketing prior to that. I worked at Cutco, the kitchen knives, the company that probably tried to recruit everyone watching this during college at some point. The one that has like the work for students sign. So I got recruited with them in college, and I ended up being there for 5 years. Absolutely loved it. Phenomenal sales background. And then just kind of decided it was my time to move on to a more corporate position. And I really didn't know what to do. I was nervous. I was scared to jump into like the real world. I had a ton of sales background, but I didn't want another company that was like Cutco. I wanted something different. So I really didn't know what to do. And my mom has been in radio advertising for her whole career and loved it. And I saw her, be able to support 2 children and have a really, really nice lifestyle and make, decent income doing it. So I knew that it was a safe place to jump into. I knew that she always loved her job, like always enjoyed going to work. So I knew that it was something that could be enjoyable. And when I interviewed with a couple different broadcast companies, iHeart really just stood out above the rest. So actually it was called Clear Channel at the time, but now it's called iHeart, which is much cooler.
Yeah. So how was that transition going from, I'm assuming, like door-to-door sales for Cutco versus doing radio advertising?
Yeah. So Cutco isn't necessarily, it's referral based, not door to door. So, technically you could make it door to door, but you're not supposed to. But definitely Cutco has the more feel of that, like high level of call volume. Like you're sitting down, you're making 100 to 500 phone calls on a Sunday night to set up your week, and then every day you're making 100 calls. You're constantly in that cycle where a lot of the skill sets are very similar for advertising. So I still need to cold call. I still need to know the sales cycle. I still need to understand how to handle objections. All of those transferable skills of sales are still there. But advertising is a much more long-term process. So like with Cutco, it was a one-call close. With advertising, I might be meeting with somebody for 6 months before I finally close a deal. Sometimes the sales cycle is as short as a few weeks, but that's uncommon. Many times it's a month or more before I'm making a sale. So just that was a really hard mental transition, because you don't have the constant gratification of, I made a sale today, I made a sale today, I made a sale. It's like, oh my gosh, when am I going to actually sell something? So that was a hard transition. And then just learning the industry. Like when I first got into radio, it sounded like people were speaking another language. And I remember sitting with people and they were supposed to be explaining things to me, and they would explain something in other things that I didn't understand. Like they would use terms I didn't know to explain terms I didn't know. So I felt really lost and overwhelmed. The first year was very tough, but I would say the first year of jumping into any new industry is probably extremely difficult to develop that new industry knowledge. But I'm so happy and fortunate and blessed that I went into sales at such a young age, that I've always had, those sales skills and that mentality. I've never worked an hourly job. I've always had commission. So, those kinds of things, I really loved being able to bring that with me into, this new position.
I have a couple sales reps that work for me that used to work hourly jobs, and they tell me since they started working commission, it's a complete mind shift.
Sure.
They can never go back to working hourly. It's just different,
I can't imagine working hourly. I've never done it. Prior to Cutco, I was like a waitress, which technically still is an hourly, right? You're working for tips. So I was a waitress, and then I did Cutco, and then now I'm at iHeart and in a sales role. So I can't imagine somebody putting a number on me and saying, all right, you're worth this much. And that's the only, I would feel so capped, that's the only amount that you could make. Even if somebody said to me, hey, we'll offer you the exact same amount of money that you're making right now, but it would be a salary position or, an hourly type job, I'm not sure that I would be attracted to that unless there was a really intense bonus structure. I'm very competitive. So I like being able to win and earn more. And yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So since you've been in the business for a couple of years, what kind of failures have you had that you learned something from? What does that look like?
Good question. So what failure have I had? I wouldn't really consider anything a failure. I've had a lot of learning experiences, handling maybe different clients or agencies, because I deal with ad agencies, and sometimes that's a whole different beast. But just maybe certain scenarios where I had a challenge and I didn't handle it well, or maybe didn't ask the right questions. Not one huge failure comes to mind. There's accounts that I didn't close that I look back and say, all right, I probably could have done this and would have made the sale. But I do keep this little gold notebook, and every time I have a failure or a bad conversation, or a conversation where I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I could have done that a lot better. I go and write it down in that little book. I write down how I did handle the situation, and then how I would handle it if I could do it again. And that's been really helpful. One, getting it out of my mind, because I'm the kind of person that would just lament on that for a long time. So it just gets it out. But two, it allows me to learn from the experience so that next time I can flip back. Now that I'm talking about it, I guess maybe one mistake, I don't know if it's a failure, but, one big learning lesson I had was not to get too comfortable. So I was brought in about a year ago to start running the training programs for iHeart. Because when I got there really was no structured sales training. And they decided to have a hiring push where we hired about 20 new people. And we needed some formal training because a lot of them were green. And because of the fact that I trained a lot of people with Cutco, iHeart decided to add on to my current position and keep me as a sales rep. But then in addition, I would run the training. So I wrote the sales training program with help of the leadership in the office, and then conducted the sales training. It's a 9-week program. And I think that once I got into that position, what is iHeart, Chris? iHeart Media. We own 850 radio stations across the country, as well as the iHeart Radio app. tons of digital assets. So like we sell banner ads on like a ton of different, like all the different websites. Like anytime you get retargeted or served ads, that could come from us. And then we're digital advertising, radio advertising, and then event marketing. So, but back to the training thing. When I started running the training, I guess a mistake or kind of momentary failure was that I wouldn't say I got cocky, but I got comfortable. You know, it was like, oh, I'm running the training. I know what I'm doing. I feel confident. And I stopped preparing as much for my sales calls. I stopped doing as much research. I stopped, doing some of the small things that made me successful in the first place, because I kind of felt like, oh, I got this. And I wasn't even like practicing what I preached sometimes. Like I was telling the new people to do something that I wasn't doing on a daily basis. And then I had one appointment that went really bad. Like I just like fell on my face. And I left the appointment. I was like, what was that? Like I sounded like a rookie. Like not only did I sound like I just started like at iHeart, like I sounded like I just started in sales. Like I had no idea. And I knew that too. Like you ever have like a time like that where you're hearing yourself and you're like word vomiting? You're like, this is horrible. Like I'm not saying the right things. Like I know how to handle that objection and I just didn't do it right.
Yep.
So I guess just like getting comfortable was a mistake that I've made. And a great story that our senior VP of sales tells is when she got in a position where she felt too comfortable, she fired herself. So she actually literally took a brown like cardboard box, packed up all of her like desk belongings into it, brought them home on a Friday, and then on Monday she restarted. Like she didn't tell her boss or anything. She just personally said, I'm cleaning the slate. I'm starting as if I was brand new. And that's something that like I didn't do the physical act of it, but I really thought to myself, like when that moment I really had that bomb of an appointment, hey, I need to restart, go back to the basics. I need to go back to what worked in the first place, and practice all the things that I'm teaching to other people and that I know I've been taught in the past.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. You were frozen there for a minute or two.
Oh, was I? Oops.
Yeah, that's all right. So take us through your day of an entrepreneur. What does your day typically look like from the time you get up to the time you go to bed?
All right, my whole day. All right, so if it's a good day and I wake up on time, I wake up at 5:15. I immediately take my dog. Well, I feed my dog because he's a little lunatic and he immediately wants me to feed him. And then I take him for a walk. I usually make it to the gym sometime between 5:30 and 5:45. Yes, Chris, Milo, my little puppy. So Milo and I go for a walk. Then I head to the gym. I'm usually at the gym until 6:30, 6:45. And then go upstairs, shower, get ready for the day. I've gotten in the habit of always doing my hair. I know this seems crazy, but I feel like I have a much better day when my hair is done.
I see it every day too.
Yeah, I can tell. It looks really
Not
fun.
really.
You look awesome. But so I do my hair, get ready, leave my house usually by 7:15, 7:30. Depending on how early I leave, I may or may not drive through Starbucks on the way to work. I'm a big Starbucks junkie. Although I've like thought of kicking that habit, but I like it. I don't know. Oh, whatever. And then I'm at work by 8 o'clock. We don't have to be there until 8:30, 8:45, but I just feel like getting there kind of before the crowd is the better way to go for sure. I used to run like when I was running the training programs, training started at 8. So I got in the habit of being there by 7:45. Now, like getting there at 8 feels late. So at the office by 8, my work day varies dramatically day to day. Like not one day is the same at my office. Like it's very hard to kind of walk you through my day, but things that would be included in my day. I meet with my manager every day. I think it's really important for me to constantly have some sort of leadership and advice from someone and guidance. He's been in the business for over 30 years. So, why not constantly, get his opinion? And we work really, really well as a team. So I meet with him frequently throughout the day. My day is like probably half inside the office, half outside the office. I go out to meet with clients or cold call on clients. I'm on the automotive team, so a lot of my accounts are dealerships, and dealerships are just really hard
And
to get a hold of.
how many cold calls do you make a day?
So our industry is very different, like, than most sales organizations. Like, what's crazy, like when I taught training, is like if our sales team makes 10 cold calls a day, they're doing solid. Like, which is such a drastic difference between what
Right.
you if I'm actually walking into businesses, I might only walk into 3 or 4. And then like make a couple phone calls that day. The thing is, our process is really long in meeting with someone. So like you have like 2 or 3 meetings before you close a deal. So I'm also like having a bunch of other meetings. Like I'm probably meeting with a client to go back and pitch. And then we also are very heavily involved in the maintenance of that account. So once you close a deal, like I would say over 1/3 of my week is spent with my current clients. So maintaining their business, working on their programs, changing their commercials, talking to them about, the progress and the results that they're seeing. So just as much as I'm in sales, I'm also in account management and making sure that their marketing and advertising program is effective. Some weeks, like over half of my time is spent with my current clients. There's been weeks before where I've gone by and been like, oh my gosh, I haven't even called anybody new this week. That's not a good thing, definitely. But our business is a little bit different in that, where like it's not a constant heavy load of cold calls. And then I'm at the office like probably half the time working on campaigns. So what's interesting is like we don't actually have a product to sell. Like I don't have a tangible, like I'm going to sell you this object. There's no marketing programs or plans that are cookie cutter and like built out for someone. So I can't like meet with you and say, oh, you're a furniture shop. Like, here's what we do, right? Every single client is going to be different. So It's my job to not only like find the prospects and talk to them and figure out their business. And then like I have to create the solution too. We have a portfolio of literally you could take the campaign 100 different ways. So it's up to me to figure out exactly how I want to design their campaign. So a lot of my day is also spent, figuring out what the best strategy is for that client based on their needs. And every single person is different. So every plan is customized. So I come up with their proposal, come up with their marketing strategy. In most cases, I'm also writing their commercials. So the commercials that you hear on air on the radio, I'm writing those, or coming up with the digital banner ads that are going to be served, or coming up with their activation plan if they're going to be on site at an event. So like if they're going to be on site at an event, we don't want them just sitting there with a tent and a table. We want something exciting. We want something interactive. So I'm coming up with that strategy. So it's a lot of marketing, not just sales. It's a lot of like advertising strategy, which I have absolutely no background in. It's all learning from experience. I was a photography major in college. So then going through the rest of my day, I probably get out of work anywhere between 5:30 and 7. I'm not the kind of person that leaves like when the day is over. I leave when I'm finished doing what I need to get done that day. So it's always after 5:30. Like that's kind of like the time we're allowed to leave, if you will. But I've stayed at the office till 9 before. It just kind of depends on what I have going on. I love working out in the morning now though, because now I'm not like rushing home to go to the gym. Like now I'm going to the gym tonight, but that's like I already went this morning. I'm going a second time because I gotta be ready to pull myself on these crazy obstacles at Tough Mudder. And then my evenings are all super different. Anything from like, just spending some time with Milo, taking him to the beach, going on Facebook Live a lot, editing my book.
A lot.
A lot. Working on some personal projects. I've taken dance classes, in the evenings. Now that I'm waking up early and working out in the morning, like the evenings, I have so much time. It's amazing. And then at night I read a lot. I spend a lot of time in my car. I spend a lot of time in my car, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I try and split up, like I'll probably be in my car, over 2 hours a day, easily over 2 hours a day. And I try and split that time
Yep,
up.
me too. What are you listening to?
So right now I'm listening to Be Obsessed or Be Average. I'm listening to Worth It. I can't remember the name of the lady, but it's a financial book like that's specifically geared towards women. And then I also downloaded, so I just started for the first time in my life reading the Bible, and I downloaded a Bible app, and you can like listen, like they'll read it to you, which is super cool. So I'm listening to the book of Matthew on my Bible app. And,
Awesome.
Pardon?
Awesome.
Yeah, it has been. It's been really awesome, actually. I always feel like it's like speaking directly to me that day, which is really awesome. And then I also listen to Paul Santisi audios. I'm like a huge Paul Santisi fan, and just recently connected with him on Facebook, which has been really cool. So I've been listening for like 5 years, and now we're actually like having dialogue, which is really powerful and enlightening. So now like listening to his audios are even better. And then I'll also listen to other people's Facebook Live videos when I'm driving. So like I'll put them on and put them on the Bluetooth and just listen, depending on like who it is. Like a lot of the like Facebook Live videos that I like watching though aren't like the big dogs. Like I don't really like love watching Grant Cardone. I like watching the Elena and Grant whatever show, but like I like watching your guys' videos the best. Like I watch like, yours, I watch ETE, I watch Jeremy, I watch Thomas when he goes on. I watch like all these people who like, you know, are in the community. I like to see what like everyone else is doing and listening. So I listen to a lot of that in the car. And then I try when I'm in the car to also like spend part of my time listening to motivating music. Big on Paul Santisi radio. He has like this whole radio station that's only positive vibes. It's freaking amazing. Or I'll listen to like, I have this thing called my State Change playlist, which is like something that I made after I went to UPW, which is like all these like fired up songs. And then I try to also spend a third of my time calling somebody, like making a phone call to somebody who I've, you know, maybe forgotten to call in a while, you know, haven't reached out to them in a couple months or, you know, for whatever reason, just because we're in different cities or states. And so I try and reach out to a friend that I haven't talked to and really reestablish a connection, or call a client that maybe I haven't touched base with in a week or so. That's how I spend my car time. And then I would love to tell you that I go to bed by 11, but that's totally not true. But today it will be. Today my mission is to bed at 11. But lately it's been like 1 a.m. It's been bad. So that's it.
That's awesome. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like obviously you're successful with what you're doing right now, but you just wrote your first book / journal.
Yes.
But where's La Gringa going to be in 5 years?
So one of the big things that we haven't talked about yet that's definitely on the radar for 5 years out is I want to be a professional, or I'm going to be a professional speaker. So I'm starting to get some of that generating now. I'm going to be talking to a couple different groups coming up, you know, not just to get some experience. And then eventually I want to get into the speaker circuit. And I definitely see myself that being a big role in my life 5 years from now. Maybe still in South Florida, maybe not. We'll see. 5 years is quite a while away. I mean, like how much detail do you want? Because I got a lot of detail on it. So,
whatever you want to share.
All right. So 5 years from now, I think I'll be married by then, probably. No kids yet, though. That's too soon for kids. Although I'll be 35, so I don't know. We'll see. But probably not. Probably no kids. Maybe still with iHeart. If I'm still with iHeart, then, you know, I think still with iHeart, but maybe, you know, in a different role than I'm in now. Possibly still sales oriented, but, you know, maybe sales manager. I really haven't mapped that out yet. I know definitely in more of a leadership position than I am now. I think the problem is my position that I'm going to be in at iHeart doesn't exist yet. Like, I feel like there's been a couple people who have been very groundbreaking in our industry. Like, we created a new automotive VP that we didn't have 5 years ago. There's a new digital VP that we didn't have 5 years ago. So I see myself in one of those types of positions 5 years out, maybe even 3 years out from now, where I'm in a type of position that doesn't exist today. Like, for instance, the training role. I'm the training director. That didn't exist a year ago. So I think something like that will develop. There's going to be a need, and I will be the right person to fill that need within the next 3 to 5 years at iHeart. I love the company, and it's a huge company. It's, you know, exciting to work for, so I don't see myself leaving. Definitely the author of, probably, I would say 5 years from now, man, I'd like to at least write 1 book a year. So I'd have 5 books by then.
You hear that, Paul Douglas? 5 books.
Paul, my book, so he asked when my book gets launched. My book technically is on like pre-sale right now. I'm going to have copies of it by next week and start shipping them out. So you can actually buy one right now. You can buy one on Amazon. The first 100 copies I'm signing, but I'm already up to 75 copies. So there's only 25 left if you want a signed copy. What other questions do they have? What kind of water do I drink, Chris? Just regular water, you know, like filtered water. I'm sure Dan can sell me some better water, right?
I can. You're going to have a filter bottle coming to you soon. So
Woo!
I just got to get like put on it.
Oh, you know how I love presents and opening them on Facebook Live.
So I want to, everybody that does a lot of Facebook Lives, I'm going to send them a filtered water bottle with my logo and their name on it. Dude, that way, because everybody carries it with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if you guys are listening to this and you're not actively on Facebook Live, now is a really good time to start so that Dan sends you a water bottle. Just start going ham live, and all of a sudden you'll get gifts in the mail.
Yep.
So.
Yep. How do I get a filter bottle? Send me a message, Thomas. I'll get you one.
Yeah,
you're close by. What's that?
I said, tell him to start going live more often.
Yeah, go live more often. I'll send you one. There's some motivation to do more Facebook Lives. You're on it, Chris. You stepped out of your comfort zone and made it happen.
Yeah.
So, couple more questions.
All right, awesome. I'm game.
If you could spend your time, like an hour, with anybody who is alive or not alive now, who would it be?
Okay, so that's really tough, and I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to cheat. So,
okay.
My first initial thought, because you said alive, was Oprah. 100% Oprah. And I think if I'm going to do like any kind of like figure in the world, like that's like made a difference in community and life, like I would definitely choose someone alive, because it doesn't make too much sense to me to spend time even with a very influential person if they're dead, because they can't really help me that much in 1 hour if they're dead. Where if I can create a connection with Oprah, my goal, like I'm going to be friends with Oprah. It's already done. Like she's on my dream board. It's going to happen. Me and Oprah are going to be friends. So if I could get an hour of her time now, start adding value to her life, start showing that I'm worth it to be in her life, 100% it would be Oprah. But when you said dead, I would choose my grandma. So if I could only choose one, grandma would win over Oprah for sure. My grandma was like the most important person in my life. She passed away when I was 15, and I would love to see her again, even if it was for 1 minute. So,
yep, I understand that for sure. So what if you were interviewing yourself currently, what kind of questions would you ask yourself? What's one question that you would ask yourself?
What's one question I would ask myself if I was interviewing myself now? I'd probably ask myself why I go Facebook Live so much. Would you like me to answer it?
You got to answer it too. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So I had someone actually talk to me about this, and they had a misconception about why I Facebook Live so much. So someone was like, I see that you're trying to like emulate Grant Cardone, and you're trying to become a millionaire by Facebook Living all the time. And I was like, first up, I started Facebook Living before I knew Grant Cardone like did that. Like I got it from Janelle Delgado, who I guess got it from Grant, but whatever. I had never even watched Grant's before. And like by no means am I trying to become a millionaire from Facebook Live, because that makes absolutely no sense. Like no one's sending me money to do these videos. I started it because Janelle Delgado challenged us to in our coaching group. And then I realized it was really fun, like that people talk to you while you're doing it. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. And I got addicted really quick. But then I quickly found out that it was a way that I could actually add value to other people and give back, which is something that I had really been missing. Like with Cutco, I was really a mentor to a lot of young individuals. And that part of my life really left when I left Cutco. And being able to get on Facebook Live and say something that might help change someone's day, that's been really impactful for me. Like that feeling of like getting that message. And I'm sure you've gotten these messages too, where someone's like, hey, your video meant a lot to me. Like you changed my day. Like you, whatever you said today, like I needed to hear. Like that's freaking awesome. And that's why I do Facebook Live videos. Like eventually, like overall, I think it's cool, like to get influence and so that people know who you are and the whole thing of like, you know, getting rid of obscurity. But that's not really why I do it at my core. My core is because like it's super fun to see people talk to me, but it's so rewarding to know that I getting what I had to say, a thought that was in my brain out to other people can actually make a difference to someone. And like audios or watch videos where it's been like, man, that's exactly what I needed to hear, or, you know, that's the encouragement I needed, or that's the thought that I was missing. I know how impactful that's been to me. So if I could do that for one person, like that's why I do Facebook Live.
I'm moving my car because I think
don't lie and drive.
I'm in a parking lot. It's okay. It is okay. I'm not driving. See, I promise. I stopped.
All right.
Don't live and drive.
Don't live and drive. I'm a big.
So to kind of piggyback off of you, now we have a delay. So to piggyback off of what you said with Facebook Live, literally 2 weeks ago, I hadn't done a single Facebook Live. I was terrified of it. But and I think part of the reason was I kind of felt like I was talking to myself. Because if you have 2 or 3 people on there, they may ask some questions, they may not. But you're just kind of talking. So I was actually talking to Chris Wick about this. I said, I'm just going to start interviewing people. Because I'll interview other entrepreneurs that have a similar mindset as me. And then we could talk about what they do in business. Maybe it'll get you business. Maybe it won't. But we could talk about entrepreneurship and what your day looks like and motivate other people.
Sometimes I feel like these interviews, like the dual Facebook Living, is kind of like you're FaceTiming with somebody and then you're just letting the world watch it.
Yeah.
You know? Like lately, like there's been people who've been like, oh, I want to like have a call with you. I want to talk. I'm like, why don't we just do it on Facebook Live? So like the world can see, because we'll probably say some cool shit. So I love that. That's a really good tip for anyone who's like nervous to Facebook Live, is don't do it alone. Friends don't let friends Facebook Live.
I'm terrified. I was worried, well, what if I don't shave? Obviously I didn't shave today, but what if I don't shave? What if I don't say the right thing? What if I stutter? Who cares? I mean, there's, 30, 40 people that were watching this a little while ago, 8 people now. But if like I just stuttered, right? Who cares? Just say something important, say something that's important to you, bring some value to other people. That's all it is. I'm not doing it just like Janine said. I'm not doing it to try to sell something. I don't bring up what I do for a living. I just want to talk to other entrepreneurs and let everybody listen to what their day looks like. That's it.
Yeah.
Great way to create content for your book.
I think one thing that Hank Norman said at 10X, like really hit home for me, which is like that not only does no one expect you to be perfect, but it's actually really weird if you're perfect. You know, like if you go on Facebook Live or go on a video and you are super polished, like no one can relate to you because no one's like that. So, I think that really helped me. And the other thing that I love, I used to do recorded videos for YouTube and they were horrible. They're still up. You go back and watch them. They're a train wreck. And it was so hard because like you have the editing process and then like people do expect those to be really perfect and done well. But when you're live, it's like, well, people know you're live. Like they know you're going to mess up. There's no pressure. And once it's up, it's up. Like, whoops, I already said it. You already saw it. So I feel like there's less pressure when you go live than when you record. So
yeah,
I like lives. And I think yours have been great. So I'm glad that you started doing them.
I appreciate that. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 days a week, I'll be doing live. I have ETE on Friday.
Nice. Before Powerhouse?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
I got to get all the Powerhouse. So I have Jason next Friday, I think. So I have to reach out to Chevy and Bob because obviously Jeremy, the friendly flipper, was there.
Okay. And then Daniel Joseph is part of Powerhouse too. And then.
And you two just connected yesterday. What's up with
Yeah.
that?
Freaking crazy. He had me blocked. I still don't know why. I don't think he knows why either. So like I couldn't see anything that he did, and I want a hat so badly. And I talked about it on so many videos, and no one reached out. And then finally, I think it was Eddie yesterday that reached out for me. Eddie, who's part of the Hustle. What is it called? Hustle.
Home of the Hustle.
Home of the Hustle. That's what it's called. The one who works for Lightspeed VT. He finally. Yep. I literally probably shouted out to dozens of people, like, if you are friends with Daniel Joseph, please let him know I want to connect. And finally he did for me. So very appreciative of that. I'm going to be buying some Savage Grind hats. Do you have one?
I do.
Everyone has one but me.
It's back in my back seat somewhere.
Thanks for joining.
What's up, Adam? Mark, that's awesome. We have ETU on tomorrow night. So who has some questions for La Gringa?
Let's scroll up and see if there was any questions before. There's been lots of comments. Thanks for guys.
Hey, Mark wants you on his show.
Mark wants me on his show?
Yeah.
He wants you on the show. He says, hey, Dan, maybe you'll have me.
Yeah, both of us.
I love that everyone's like starting these like shows. That's pretty cool. I have my first show.
I noticed that everybody is.
Everybody's doing it. All the cool kids anyway.
Yeah, all the 10Xers at least.
Yes. Why did you decide?
What's your show about?
Mine? So my show is called Warrior Women Wednesdays. And one thing that was extremely evident at 10X and is also pretty evident in this internet community as well, and then also in business, is that women have a much smaller voice right now. Like at 10X, literally for every 10 guys that were there was only one woman. And I think there's a lot of reluctance from women in general to go into business, to become an entrepreneur. One of my friends, Jenny King, talks a lot about how and I think it's Jenny King and Jacqueline Mitchell both talk about this in their posts, which is that it's not necessarily that women are discriminated against, but women themselves are nervous to ask for those promotions or to go after that kind of job or to go into sales. So some of it is society, but some of it also is just like from women themselves. It's women discriminating against themselves by like self-doubt. And so the mission of the show, Warrior Women Wednesdays, is to really highlight and showcase some women that are taking that plunge, that are going against that fear. Some women that, some cases have certain challenges that maybe other people would perceive as, oh, you can't be an entrepreneur, for instance, if you're a mom. You can't run your own business if your husband's successful, or you can't if you didn't get a college degree, or whatever else might be in someone's head as to why they can't do something. So it's to highlight these women who are really doing it on a massive level. And I'm starting with people who are really involved in the 10X community, but it'll expand out from there. But it's just to show women what other women are doing in the world, so that it can inspire them to take what they're doing to a higher level. So tonight I have Whitney. It's going to be my very first episode, and Whitney is part of Motivation Circle with me. So very, very, very excited that she is brave enough to go first episode with me. So
awesome,
Adam,
awesome. I think a lot of people. You do. What do you do, Adam? Let's make you a hashtag right now. So I think a lot of people, they discriminate against themselves, whether they're white, black, Spanish, woman, male. It's all their mindset. I think if you can just get your mindset right and surround yourself with people that are like-minded, maybe even of your specific group that you're discriminating against, and those people are successful. What's up, ETE? I think that's what it's all about. So I think that's awesome you're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, even just like what you just said kind of sparked a realization for me too, is like I had in the past been discriminating against myself in the Hispanic community. So like Miami is very Hispanic, and a lot of the business owners who are Cuban and speak like Spanish as their first language are in many cases very reluctant to do business with people who aren't Hispanic. And I was always really just like, I let myself that affect me. Like if I saw that a business was advertising in Spanish, I like wouldn't even go after it, even if I thought it was a good prospect, because I was like, oh, like that's going to be a waste of my time. They're not going to want to do business with me. Like I cut myself out before I even gave them the opportunity to. That's part of the reason why I'm learning Spanish now, and why I also really loved the name La Gringa, is because it brings up that thought in my head that I was this white girl and people were judging me. But the reality is, once I started learning Spanish, people loved that I was learning Spanish, and those same business owners who I thought would push me away actually thought it was like adorable and endearing that I was learning Spanish and trying to speak to them in Spanish.
Yep. Here's what you do though. If you can hold back from those people that you're selling to, don't tell them you speak Spanish until the very end when it's decision time, because they're talking to their other person who's a decision maker in Spanish. You'll understand what they're saying, but they don't know you understand them.
My dad used to do that. So my dad
I'm not 100% fluent. My wife is Dominican, so Dario just joined. I think he's Dominican. So
Dario's
what?
He gave me the name. He gave me
La Gringa. He did. Good work, man. So my wife is Dominican, and I know that whenever I went into someone's house, a prospect's house, and talked about water filtration, I had a picture of her in my water testing kit because it would be a natural conversation. They would say, oh, is that your wife? She's Spanish. And then I would talk a little bit in Spanish to them, and then they'd think I'm part of the family. So.
Oh, that's awesome. What you said before about pretending like you don't know Spanish and then listening in. My dad is like an extraordinarily successful entrepreneur, and he came over from Iraq. So he was born and raised in Baghdad and then lived in Israel for some time and then came over to the U.S. And he didn't come to the U.S. until he was like 40. So he has an extremely thick accent, and he'll pretend like he doesn't know in English when he actually can understand perfectly fine. And he'll pretend for business purposes that he like doesn't know what someone's saying. And he'll be like, I don't know. And he like totally understands. And I don't know. I feel like that's kind of manipulative and lying. I wouldn't do it. But my dad has been very successful in doing that. Hey, Grant.
When they start talking numbers,
Dario, you're Arabic as well?
No. He's Dominican.
Why did he say he's Arabic? I'm Arabic.
Are you?
How?
I think he's Dominican. I don't know. We'll say. ¿Cómo se dice? I am tired.
Yo
tengo sueño.
Sí, tengo sueño.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for La Gringa?
Necesita preguntas para mí.
Come on, guys. Give her a question. So, what about me? Anybody have any questions for me? Is there anything else you would like to add, La Gringa?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun. I love being asked to get interviewed by someone. I think that's cool. So I appreciate it. And if you were a woman, I would love to have you on Woman Warrior Wednesdays. But maybe your wife. Would your wife like to be on Woman Warrior Wednesdays?
Maybe. I'll talk to her. She is a warrior. We have 4 kids.
Damn.
The oldest is 6. So we have a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 5-month-old. So she is definitely a warrior. I get a break going to work every day, and then I got to take over when I get home. But
maybe I could do the interview with her in Spanish.
You could.
That would be awesome. I need to practice a little bit.
Yeah, she might have to help you out a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did get a question from Chris Wick.
My woman, Mark.
Chris Wick says, what is your next book going to be about? So I don't know, Chris, because I have 4 ideas, and I don't know which one I'm going to dive into first. I have another journal idea that has to do with your dream or vision board and how to like activate your vision board. But I just got some amazing videos from Paul Santisi on activating your vision board. So I'm excited to watch those. And I don't know if they'll influence what I want to write in the book. And then another book that I'm going to write, Chris, you'll like this because you know Milo's name. It's called Things I Talk to My Dog About. So it's like
That should
more,
be.
it is things that I do talk to Milo about, but it's more like inner thoughts and inner workings of my brain stuff. So kind of a dive into La Cabeza de la Gringa.
Mark or Grant Menard said, "What are some key points and tips to networking?"
Ooh, great question, and I love who it came from. So Grant Menard is somebody who I met at 10X, and I'm going to use you as the answer to the question, Grant. So he said, what are some tips and key points to networking? And I would say putting yourself out there and just introducing yourself to new people every single day. So what happened was that when I was at 10X, I went by myself the second and third day. The people that I went with the first day chose not to go the second and third days. So on the second day, I was down in the lobby after the event was over, and I was kind of like planning on, I live like 10 minutes from where the event was held. So I was about to go home, and I was like, you know what, Janine? There's this amazing community of people right here. Like, why are you going to go home? Like, who's at home, you know? And so I like looked around, and I get very nervous, or I used to get very nervous in social settings in like introducing myself to someone for the first time. I'm more, if I'm comfortable, then I'm very comfortable. But if I'm brand new at meeting someone, I hadn't been the one to make that first initial interaction. So I'm downstairs in the lobby at the bar, and everyone's like drinking and doing things. And I'm like kind of walking around aimlessly, kind of trying to find like someone that looks like I could make eye contact with them or something, you know, breaking conversation. And I turned to leave, and I was on my way out the door. And for some reason, I caught Grant Menard's eye and walked past. So like we made eye contact, and then I walked past him, and I was like headed home. I was like, you know what, Janine? Turn around and just freaking introduce yourself. So I literally turned around. I walked right back up to his table and sat down with him and his friend Dan. And I said, hi, I'm Janine. Like, have you been at 10X this weekend? And we just started talking, and like immediately became close friends, and spent the whole rest of the conference together. And Grant and I have obviously kept in touch, and he's absolutely amazing and someone who has truly impacted my life in like major ways. So had I not turned around and just introduced myself, like I'm not even sure that I would be on this Facebook Live video right now. Like he made that much of a difference in me deciding to, like, he helped me believe in myself again. So
Good job, Grant.
Grant's amazing.
So I'll answer that too. I think that part of networking is really just putting yourself out there, kind of like what Jeannie was talking about, and just doing it, whether it's joining a networking group or friending people on Facebook. I think you have to have some kind of filter almost of who you network with, because you can network with the wrong people, obviously.
100%.
So make sure that they have the right mindset. I think I get 70 friend requests a day. So I have to literally go through them. Even if we have 200 friends in common, I'm still looking at their profile, seeing what they post, making sure we're like-minded. I'm sending them a message first to see what they reply back to me. So make sure you're networking with the right people, because if you network with the wrong people, that could be detrimental too. What's up, Troy? Hey, Troy, you need to talk to Janine. She's in the radio business.
How did we become friends then? Because I don't respond back to Facebook Messenger.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think right after 10X, it was just an influx of a ton of 10Xers.
And I got in with the crowd.
I think you did. That's okay. It's good. Definitely.
I'm glad I did. Yeah. But, for anyone out there who's Facebook messaged me before, I just really am bad with Facebook Messenger. I think the platform sucks. So.
It does.
Yeah.
You respond back to me when I send you a message, so I feel special.
You are special. I literally have 90 or more unread messages right now on Facebook Messenger. So
wow.
If one of those messages is you listening out there in the world, sorry, it's not personal.
Troy, talk to Janine. She works for iHeartMedia.
I do.
Troy is a DJ local in the Sarasota area.
Nice. What kind of music?
Like soul, R&B, stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
He's got a show on, I think it's on Tuesdays. Speaking of which, I need to get back on listening to him. But, yeah, he's awesome. He's a singer, songwriter.
Very cool.
Awesome guy. So you two definitely need to connect.
Yeah.
Time to automate your messenger with bots. You have to tell me about that, Paul. So Mark said, should I stop sending Janine messages?
Yeah, text me, Mark. Mark has my cell phone number. Text me because I'm really bad about Facebook Messenger. And Mark, I'm so sorry that I missed your call this morning. I had my phone on silent, and I thought you just never called me. And I was like, oh, I guess he got busy. And then I realized like later that you did call me. I'm sorry. So.
Well, awesome. It's been good. We've gone a little over, which is definitely okay. So,
yeah. Hope we delivered some value. If you guys have been watching for a little while, drop like the best nugget that you got. You know, what your biggest takeaway is. Love to see that. So thank you so much, Dan, for having me on.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Adios, amigos.